Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to Surviving Life's Pickles. We're excited for this week's episode, and today I've got something a little bit special. So, Hillary is on vacation. It's the first girls' trip that she has taken since my March 24 suicide attempt. That was the last time that she took a vacation, and that's what happened when she left. So it's been a really interesting, nerve-wracking week with a lot of stuff going on that we'll kind of get into. But today, because she's on that, and I'm excited to share the space with Cameron Ballantyne, the director and operations of our RFW nonprofit organization. So thank you, Cameron, being co-host today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And then we have Jordan Holdaway from the Otherside Academy. So thank you, Jordan.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And everybody, really, again, we are so grateful that you guys are taking your time out of your day today to hang out with us, to listen to the messages, the content, and Jordan's story. We couldn't do this every week without you. And so we are so grateful that you take the time out of your week every week to hang out with us and listen to the content that we provide. But if you've ever listened to one of our episodes, you know that we start our episodes off with what we're grateful for today. And again, today's a little bit different. It's all guys. It's the guys episode, so it's going to be a little bit different today. So I'm going to have Cameron start off today with what he's grateful for. And then we'll roll it to Jordan, and I'll finish it out and roll in today's topic, why Jordan's here. So, Cam, take it away.
Sounds good. So my go-to is friends and family, which I'm obviously grateful for consistently. But as I was driving over here, I was starting to think, okay, what's going to be my gratitude message this time? And it sounds silly, but since it snowed like a month ago, I was just grateful for a nice day. I had the sunroof open, just chilling in some decent, maybe now summer weather, and everything moving forward. Summer's my favorite season of the year. And I think that's probably what I'm grateful for now is just clear skies and sun versus sort of guck and snow.
Yeah.
So glad we're in the summer season, hopefully.
I like it. Thank you. Jordan.
Well, I think for me this morning, I had to stop by one of our job sites. My guys were pouring concrete, and our concrete provider, our vendor for that, stopped and took the time to buy the guys breakfast and, just let us know that we're one of their favorite builders, right? And so I hear that from a lot of different places. So I'm super grateful for my guys on my crew, the way they run our jobs, the way they take care of our subcontractors, the way they manage everything, and to just have the social network that I have today. Because my social networks in the past, before I got my life together, were a mess. It was just people helping each other destroy each other's lives. So that was a nice way to start the day, to have them bring out breakfast for the guys and just let us know, how much they think of us and appreciate us, and letting my guys feel that, because that's the life they're trying to work towards and deserve and have for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And it's different when you're being externally recognized versus just you as a crew and you being grateful for your folks, but somebody else seeing that outside of your spaces is always nice.
Yep. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm in the industry with you too, and it's amazing what just little acts of kindness like that will do to boost the morale with some guys, especially with what you do, and we'll get into that. Well, I guess it's my turn, huh?
Go.
So today, my grateful is kind of a little bit muddy in a good way. It crosses over a little bit. So as we were starting, I was talking to you guys, and I got food poisoning earlier this week and thought it was just a stomach bug. Went in a couple days, kept getting worse. Like, stomach bugs are not supposed to get worse as you go on. You're supposed to get better. And finally, my beautiful wife is just like, we are going to the doctor today because I cannot see you suffer anymore. So I'm so grateful for her that she loves me enough to let me suffer until she sees I can't deal with it anymore, and it's time to get some help. But then she puts her foot down and says, hey, we're going to go get some help. And so luckily, she did that, and I'm sitting here today feeling 100% better than I was. But the thing for me that I'm really grateful for today, as I was thinking this morning, I got up early and it was being a little active because I felt better, was I am excited for this episode because it is all guys. And we'll talk about this, about what being really a real man, a tough guy is. And I think we'll dive into that. And then there's this song that just recently came out, and once in a while I use songs, to explain how I'm grateful. And this is by an artist called Corey Red. She's what I classify the angry girl country music. She's got some sass to her, but it kind of reminds me of the '90s grunge, angry Alanis Morissette type. And that's my guilty pleasure. I love that type of music for whatever reason. And this is kind of the new age. There's a group of women that kind of sing this country music, but Corey Red, and this song is called "Cry Like a Man." And let me read just the first part of these lyrics because they hit me every time. And it's just such a powerful message that she wrote here. And it says, "From the day he was born, wrapped up in blue, his daddy swore, he's going to be a better man than me. Raise him right, raise him tall, teach him to fight and to throw a ball. He won't show weakness, sustain a family name. Ain't it tough? Always being so tough. Those expectations, but you seem to pile up. As no one told you, tears are strength. And I can tell you what your heart can't, 'cause you're just a boy until you cry like a man. The same boy, when we met, held my door and my breath. Thought he's the kind of man I've always dreamed. Raised right, raised tall, brings me flowers, checks my oil. But it's pulling teeth when he talks about anything deep. Ain't it tough? Always being so tough. Those expectations, but you seem to pile up. As no one told you, tears are strength and can tell what your heart can't. 'Cause you're just a boy until you cry like a man." And that's just the first part of that song. And it's so powerful to me because I was literally just kind of mowing the lawn this morning. The song came on as I was mowing, and just the tears kind of came out. And that's one thing I've tried so hard over the last few years as I've kind of refound who I was, is being able to show my boys. They're 12 and 13. They're in that stage. I'm really trying to show them that being real is showing emotions. Being tough is knowing when to show those emotions and being okay with showing those emotions. And it really does show character, in my opinion, of a man that is okay with being able to talk about things openly, being able to share hard things. And it hit me really hard this morning. And I'm so grateful that I'm at this point in my life where I've realized that. The gratitude is overwhelming when I'm able to sit down with two amazing men and have an open conversation about some of these hard things. So that's my gratitude today. I'm thankful for my wife to really take care of me, but I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be emotional as a man and be accepted that that's okay now.
So I appreciate that because I'm going through some stuff right now with my 19-year-old. He's out there in the world trying to figure out his way, and that line you have to walk between guiding him and letting him figure the pieces out themselves, because that's what they have to do. That was awesome that you just read that this morning.
Yeah, it's a great song
with him right now.
Well, and that's why we start these episodes off with that, because we always have an outline of what we want to talk about, but sometimes the gratitude takes over and sets the scene for the message that needs to be heard today. And that's kind of, we'll roll into it. So Jordan, remind me your position at the Otherside Academy. What's your official title?
So I'm the managing director of the Otherside Builders.
Okay.
And so the Otherside Builders is one of the social enterprises that funds the Otherside Academy.
Okay.
The academy is it's a life skill and vocational training school, academy for ex-cons, ex-drug addicts, guys and gals that have been in and out of jail and prison, dealt with just that tumultuous life of bad choices, right? It's kind of a boot camp on steroids for people that have been butting their head against the wall for a long time. So we generate revenue with various businesses.
Okay.
We've got a moving company, we've got a thrift boutique, got our construction company, and then we have various other positions within the academy itself. It's kind of a self-sustained community, right? It's a big community of a bunch of people coming together. It's peer-driven. There's no therapists, no counselors, anything like that. It's all staff that have been through the same process and done the same thing. And so I run one of our social enterprises that helps teach the guys job skills and creates revenue for them, keep the doors open for them.
Well, we definitely want to dive a little bit more deeper into that, but let's back up a little bit and let's talk about Jordan, and let's talk about kind of what led up to that point in your life that got you involved with this. Well, so this wherever you want to start. I mean, let's talk about your story.
Sure. I grew up Mormon kid here in Utah. Dad was in the military. We lived back east. We lived in St. Louis, Colorado. Mom and dad divorced when I was about 6, 7 years old, and mom brought us back here to Utah. So I grew up in Kaysville, up in Davis County, back in the 80s, 80s and 90s, and uh, youngest of 3 kids. And so back then, late 80s, divorced mom in a Mormon community kind of stood out, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wasn't the norm. It was kind of the outsider stuff back then. And so I think at a young age, I kind of felt that outsider feeling, right? I never really felt like I belonged. I wanted to be in the scouts. I wanted to be in the bishop, in the priesthood stuff. I wanted to do all that stuff. But when your dad's not there,
It's harder.
it creates a different
Absolutely.
scenario. Not to say that there weren't dads in the ward, in the neighborhood that tried to come in and let me be involved in stuff, but still, it's not my dad. It's not that.
Not the same.
So you get that thing. I think around 10, 11 years old, my mom would bring me down to Salt Lake City and put me in the YMCA camp in the summer for something to do, keep me busy, keep me
Yeah.
doing stuff. And I think I picked up some bad habits there from the inner city kids.
Hmm.
So, they were listening to rap music. They were pushing the limits. They were doing different things. I remember one of them getting arrested for shoplifting. And instead of it being like, oh, no, that's bad.
Like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. The girls were looking at him like he
Had some street cred.
yeah, that stuff. And so I think some of those things started to seep in, not knowing that at that age, right? And then I'd bring those things home with me back to small town Kaysville, Utah. And I can remember the kids, I'd swear or I'd say something, and they'd be like, "Oh, you can't say that kind of stuff." But then slowly their behavior started to change too, right?
Mhm.
So that social influence, I think, big thing that I understand now, didn't understand then. So I think I picked up some of those habits and then started to kind of that piece that was missing where I felt like an outsider, like I wasn't getting the relationships that I wanted or how they should have been. I started getting through like a shock value, right? Misbehaving, being rebellious, purposely doing things that were against what I was being raised in. I guess some attention is better than no attention.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not to say that I didn't have attention. I just wasn't getting what I saw other people getting, right?
Right.
And so tried to create something else there. And mom being a single parent, she was raising me and my older brother and sister. She was working 2, 3 jobs at a time sometimes. So there was kind of the latchkey kid thing going on. Come home from school and mom would be taking off to her second job and things like that. So maybe a little bit of free time on my part, but
Right.
she very much tried to keep it structured and keep me, I was raised right.
Right. As much as she could. I mean,
Mhm.
give her the credit for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. And so I think there came a point I got to be maybe 13, 14 years old. I was bigger than mom. And so her trying to discipline me or those types of things became less of an option for her. Right.
Yeah.
And so that continued on, through high school and pushing the limits, doing those kind of things. Eventually, of course, I'm going to try drugs and that stuff because I'm on that path. I'm on that path of doing what I'm told not to do.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Being that cool kid, at least that's what you thought you were doing at that point, right?
getting a kick out of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Getting a thrill out of it. And so probably 15 years old, started stealing beer. My friend had a job at a gas station or something, and we'd steal beer, kick back a couple beers, try that. Remember, I didn't even like it.
Yeah.
What is this, right? Still,
But it was still cool.
yeah, but because we were doing it, now I had this group of friends that slowly started to trickle in, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
The other kids that you weren't supposed to talk to, they do this or that. I started kind of bridging that gap, and it was crazy to look back now and I see the influence that I had on my circle of friends, right? That were raised in a similar fashion that I was, and starting to bringing them into those kind of things. Because a lot of us, we all started smoking weed. We all started taking acid and eventually led to meth and all the different stuff, right? It
Mhm.
went off in all those different directions. Narrowly scraped by to graduate high school, right? Was a 4.0 student my first 2 years in high school and barely graduated because started sloughing school and spending all my time partying and doing that. And you reach that age, I don't know, probably in your your late teens, early 20s, where you're having fun, you're experimenting, you're doing that. Everybody kind of messes around and does that stuff. But then friends start getting their priorities straightened out, right? And I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go on a mission. I'm a career, whatever that is. I kept on partying. And so what happens is that circle of influence, the somewhat responsible people or the friends that would be good influences on me, they start parting ways with me, right? Because my behaviors
Haven't changed.
it's not in line with what they're wanting to do. And so then who becomes my new set of friends? The people that I buy drugs from, the people, right? And then I start taking on their habits. These guys are stealing stuff and committing burglaries and doing those kind of things. And so in my early 20s, I started drifting that way, right? I would be employed, I would do that stuff, but I'd always be drinking, meth warrior on the weekends, doing that stuff. And then slowly I'm losing jobs. I'm getting myself in worse positions. Mom doesn't want me living in her home, different things like that, right? That go along that path that when you choose that goes that way. And you can either pull out of it and say, man, this is getting crazy, or you go deeper into it. And that's what I did. I went deeper into it, that thrill seeker side of, low expectations from the people I surrounded myself with. Oh, okay. I just have to learn how to steal stuff. I just have to learn how to, do shocking things. I have to learn how to fight. I have to learn how to write all those things.
Yeah.
And
At that age, you still think you're invincible.
yeah, you do. And you think you got it all figured out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're not listening to anybody.
And you were kind of at that point where you hadn't really been caught for doing all of these things at this point.
No.
And so there was no consequences.
Yeah, there'd been brushes with the principal, with different things like that, but nothing life altering or shattering. And my mom, I had essentially held her hostage in a sense because I just wouldn't come home. I would just disappear for weeks on end and then show up. You know what I mean? And I'm at an age, I'm 18 years old. I moved out when I was 17 of her house. And so kind of that, nothing that anybody can do about it. And when you don't experience super negative consequences at those points, you think you can maintain this. This is doable, right?
Yeah.
So in my early 20s, I think probably 22 years old, I pick up my first felony charges. Possession and shoplifting, kind of minor stuff, but felonies nonetheless.
Right.
And then I get introduced to the criminal justice system, right? I go to jail for the first time. I don't know, spend a week or two in there, nothing crazy. But now this is opening up. And I come from a family, I'm the only person that ever went to prison. I'm the only person that was ever on probation. I don't have uncles that were, and you have that sometimes. You have multi-generational stuff where, hey, Uncle Ricky is always in prison, always out on parole. I didn't have any of that. My family didn't know how to deal with any of this stuff. And I went deeper and deeper down that rabbit's hole, I get scared for a little bit by going to jail and just probably my life being disrupted and say, oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that and put these minimal efforts into trying to change something, but it would never take. And so eventually I start going to jail for longer periods of time, 3 months, 6 months, a year.
And at that point, are your charges increasing too in severity?
Yep. Usually possession charges, possession with intent to distribute, theft, forgery. I'm doing these kind of tweaker crimes. The thing of just being a dirtbag, right? I'm working really hard on how I can be more and more of a dirtbag. So that continues on until I'm probably 26 years old, and I get chance after chance. You get opportunity to go to a rehab program. You get an opportunity to go. I did drug court. I was high the entire time I was on drug court, faking it, doing the P test. Just talk about a living hell. 2 years of just BSing everybody you know. And, looking back now, it's so crazy because I remember you have this animosity towards the judges, towards the lawyers, towards the prosecutors, the cops and everything, because that's what you have to do. That's the culture that you're living in that mindset. Well, you're being a liar and manipulative and sneaky. And looking back and thinking about, man, these guys get up every day trying to help people change their lives, giving them another shot, giving them another chance, getting lied to at every corner, at every turn, at every, and that's me looking back now.
Right.
But then you're just, man, get off my back. You guys are, so it's just so crazy to think about law enforcement and the, lawyers and the district attorneys and all that stuff. They literally try to get up every day to make the world a better place, but we give them a bad rap as we lie to them the whole time, as we're putting them through that grinder.
And it must be exhausting to keep up with all the lies too.
Oh man. I didn't know how exhausting it was until I got my life together.
Right?
You know?
Yeah.
You don't realize how much energy you're burning up trying to maintain. What did I tell this person? Oh, when's this guy gonna catch up to me? Oh, his wife, I slept with her, but just always looking over your back, doing these. You know how it goes. That's that life. And so I graduated drug court. Let's see, in 2007. And I remember I was high as a kite as I went in there to get my little graduation certificate. My family's all there. The judge was so proud of me that I had made it through this thing, and just all a sham. And I remember they handed me that thing and I took off. I beelined it right out of the courtroom, left my family in the dust, left everything because I was like, I can't believe
that I just got away with this.
that I just got away with it. Well, within a month's time, I'm on my way to prison for the first time. So head to prison. I'm 20, I guess I'd be 26 years old. Go to prison for a little under 3 years, my first time, and at this point I've racked up, I don't know, I probably have 15 felonies on my record at this time. And that's what I got caught for, right? That's the piece that you got to look at. That's what
Right. Those are the
plea bargains. Those are everything, right? So if I've got that many things going on, I'm actually doing 100 times that every day.
That's what you just got caught with, right?
Yeah, that's the lifestyle I'm living, the tip of the iceberg. Go to prison for about 3 years. Spend my time in there. I didn't get involved in the politics of prison. I didn't see the gang life and that stuff as appealing to me. So I managed to kind of keep my head down. I actually worked real hard, exercised, ate right, read all the philosophy books I could, did the whole thing, said, I'm going to do something different when I get out of here. And I actually believed it myself. But sure enough, within 6 months of being out of prison, I was on my way back. And so that cycle continues for the next 10 years. And the lifestyle gets worse and worse. Every time you go to prison, every time you go into one of these programs or something that AP&P or whoever's trying to get you off of, if your mind's not right and you're not ready to change something different about yourself, it just becomes another tool for destruction. And so I would just meet more people and more people, and the social circle would get bigger and bigger
and deeper,
and bigger connections and bigger crimes, bigger things that you're involved in. And so in 2015, I had terminated a prison sentence. I was involved in just about everything you could be, at that time. And I got arrested in December of 2015, possession of a firearm, distribution of meth. Oh, I mean, it was 20 charges. It was a long list of things. And so I'm done because I've already done 8 years in prison at this point. And I know that like it's game over. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm in jail. A cellie of mine says something to me, we're talking. He says, well, there's this program I heard about. It sounds like just the thing for you. It just opened. It just started. And it's like this boot camp for ex-cons, guys with records like yours that, it's like a last chance deal. And I go, well, what's it called? He says, I have no idea. It's open, right?
Halfway helpful.
Yeah. So he goes to court. I'm sitting in jail for a couple months at this time. He goes to court again. He comes back. Hey, man, that place it was called the Otherside Academy. So I get that information out there, get my mom kind of hitting on that and finding out some info. My attorney, we present it to the district attorney. Hey, will you give him a shot to do this? They're like, no way. You're done. You're done. And so I'm trying to mitigate my damage. I'm like, okay, well, I could beat a couple of these charges if I take it to trial, but I'm still not going to beat these. They're going to lay me down. But trying to do that the shuffle that you do. I'm in there for 6 months or so. At some point in the stuff, I'm getting ready to set up a trial because I'm just grasping for straws at this point.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to prison for 10, 15 years. And so somewhere in the middle of that, the prosecutor changed. The prosecutor who was on my case went to another place. A guy from Ogden came down to Davis County and took over. And so my attorney's talking to me. We're about to set up jury selection and stuff. And he's like, well, they just changed prosecutors on us, so we got to figure a couple other things out. And for some reason, something in me said, well, what about that other place? And he said, they already said no. And I said, yeah, but this is a new prosecutor, right? And he goes, I don't think that's going to happen. And I said, but I'll do what you want.
Yeah. I'll at least try for you.
Can't hurt to ask,
Yeah.
right?
So he walked out of the visit, he walked over to the district attorney's office and came back the next day and said, he'll let you do it, but you have to plead guilty to everything.
Wow.
Because they'd had a few other people that had gone to the academy, same situation, and these guys hadn't made it. And so they knew they had them, for a long period of time. And so, okay, they're willing to make this deal. Now I got to get accepted to this academy, right? Because the academy, you have to reach out to them.
Yeah, it's like an application process, right?
Yeah. It's not, the judge can't just sentence you to it. You have to initiate the contact and you have to be accepted by them.
And your family even can't do it on your behalf, right?
No, correct. Yeah, you have to be the one that does it. So start that process. And I get a hold of Dave DeRocher, our executive director. And it was hard too, because they had just started. They'd only been open for 3 or 4 months. So they're launching some of these businesses. They're trying to figure this piece out, right? They're trying to make this happen. They're trying to convince judges
that it's a good
and
program,
prosecutors that we can do this. It's modeled after a place in California called Delancey Street.
I've been there.
Which, yeah, Dave was a graduate of. He was
eating at the restaurant and thoroughly love eating the Lancey Street restaurant.
Yep. So Dave, Lola, Alan, Steve, and Chris all came from Delancey Street to start the program, along with Joseph Grenny and Tim Stay, our executive staff. Joseph is a social scientist, wrote Crucial Conversations. I don't know if you guys have ever
I haven't heard of that, but
pretty big, social science guy.
Okay.
Helps a lot of companies get their stuff together. So he came in contact with the criminal justice system through some, stuff with his sons. And he said, man, this thing's broken. And in his years of research, he had found places that actually influence change. And so he said, why don't we have this here? So he put his money together. He said, we're going to start something like that.
And brought the right people
So
together.
it's crazy when you look back at the stars that had to align for me to have this opportunity, right?
Well, I'm also impressed it was your cellmate who referred you. Like, would you ever have known if this dude hadn't said a word?
Just that guy happened. And like I said, it wasn't even immediate.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, I heard about this place. And for some reason that, I could have just brushed that off. He didn't have a name for it, whatever.
Yeah.
But he came back a month or two later and he's like, hey, that place is called this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so many things lined up to make this happen for me. Anyway, so I got accepted at the academy. So what went from looking at 10 to 15 years in prison and setting up a trial and doing all these other stuff. And I'm literally physically ill from this process.
Mm-hmm.
Like my body is falling apart, probably from the big run I've just been on. But now I'm clean for quite a few months in jail, but my body is literally turning.
Done. Yeah.
The stress levels and everything. So I go from that to literally 2 days later, Dave DeRocher's picking me up and taking me
Wow.
to the academy. And show up there. Academy's unlike anything I've really ever seen before. I have a conception in my head because I've done programs before. I've done different things. And I arrive at this place and it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. There's principles there that I've seen, in other places I've been, but they're actually doing it. Like
they're holding you to the principles. Yeah.
It's a bunch of ex-cons and ex-drug addicts. Dave's a guy who did 25 years in prison in California and was headed back for 25 years when he got a chance to do Delancey Street. So he is me. He is, he knows who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to sell him on, oh, well, I do this because I went through this when I was a kid.
He's been there. He's done that. He knows.
You're a grown-ass man now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're the one making the choices, not whatever happened to you when you were.
The radar for BS is pretty sensitive, I'm imagining.
Yep. And so when I first get there, I'm grateful that I got out of a prison sentence. I want to do something different with my life, but I have no idea what that looks like. And I'm still me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still sneaky. I'm still manipulative. I still think that if I can say the right things to the right people and do the right, play the role, be the chameleon, do that stuff, I'm going to succeed here. And
Because how old are you at this time?
I would have been 35 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 35. So getting to that point, and that's kind of one of those things that you see, 30s to 40s, that's kind of that last shot to be able to pull your head out of your butt and do something different. Because and I knew that too going into it, is I'm like, man, if I go to prison for 10 more years, I'm never getting out of this.
Yeah.
I know what an old man in prison looks like. I know what, family's gone, everybody's gone. I know what that looks like. I don't want that. It's a horrible existence. So I get the chance to come here. I don't know how to do what they're asking me to do. I know how to act like I am, but I don't know how to be genuine about it. So I do some things early on in my stay, stay in contact. When you come to the academy, you're expected to step away from girlfriends, kids, family, everything. Like there's not visits when you first get there. You're not having families bring in care packages. They're not putting money on your books. There's none of that stuff.
And it's a significant amount of time. It's like the first 6 months or something. There's no contact with the outside world in a way, right?
Yeah, so you can start writing your parents if they were responsible, good parents. If you were partying with your parents,
Then absolutely not. Yeah.
but if you're, you can start writing them letters after 30 days. Then after 90 days, you can get a first phone call with them, a short little 10-minute phone call just to kind of check in, let them know how things are going. But it's going to be a year until you're going to see them in person.
Wow.
And they're going to come to the academy. And then after that time, maybe 18 months or so, you can have a home visit and do those things. And so the purpose behind that is to start breaking some of these cycles, right? To get the enabling out of there, to get the, I call it, what I tell guys, the thing that I've figured out is if you always have a plan B, you'll never put 100% into plan A.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
And so trying to create some of those boundaries and some of those walls. The thing about the academy though is you can walk out anytime you want. There's no locked doors. There's no security guards. There's no anything like that. It's an open door program. You can leave anytime you want.
But you probably can't come back if you do leave, right?
We have had guys come back, and there's definitely that opportunity. But in my case, I have a 10-year prison sentence over my head. I walk out that door. I know what I'm walking into.
Yeah. So you walk right back into the prison sentence.
And that's kind of what I think the prosecutors were betting on. We're hoping for that. And so early on in my stay, I had done some stupid stuff. And at the academy, accountability is a huge piece, right? That's probably one of the number one principles we're trying to teach guys is accountability. You've got to be the first one to raise your hand and say, I fell short here. I messed up here. I made this choice. I did this, and that's a hard process for guys like us. We've spent so much time lying, manipulating, pointing the finger, trying to mitigate the damages of what we're causing. It's not a strong suit for us.
What I read is it's mutual self-help, which I thought was fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Because you don't, in most cases, don't look at it that way.
Well, no, it's called a snitch where you come back for, right? If I call you out or I say things that you're doing wrong, then I'm a snitch, right? And so it's a culture shock. But these are things that, and you can get into that, one thing, a snitch is somebody who I'm going to tell on you to get me out of the jam I got myself in,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I'm going to hold you to a high standard and I'm going to hold myself to the high standard as well.
It's not really about the person you're snitching on most of the cases, right?
No, but that's a hard mindset that you got to shift with guys, and it takes time, and you start to really see the principle behind it, and I think that's one of the biggest life-saving things. But for me, I always had to get caught at the academy at first. I always had to get caught, and that's typical for a lot of people. Most guys don't roll in there and just overnight
they're changing their ways.
I'm accountable to myself now.
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you have some guys that have really had enough, and we have I'd say 30 to 40% of our students have just walked in off the street and they have no consequences over their head. They just want to do something different with their life. And so that's some of those guys really do walk in and they're like, okay, I'll do whatever you want me to do.
I'm going to make this change now.
Whereas me, I was saying, I'll do whatever you want me to do, but I wasn't ready for that yet.
Yeah.
If it gets you what you wanted, right?
Yeah. And so after being there for about a year, I started to see changes in myself just by being in this environment, by being surrounded by other people doing the right things. You can't help. It rubs off on you. Just like if you're in a bad environment, it's going to rub off. And I started to see the point behind it. And I started to see maybe there is some salvation possible for me. And so I really did start to change my behavior. But like I said, at the academy, the accountability piece is a huge portion. We expect you to own what you've done. And I didn't have the balls to say, hey, early on, I did these things. I just thought, I'll sweep it under the rug. We'll forget about it. It's okay. I'll move on with life. And life doesn't work that way. It catches up to you eventually.
Yeah. Karma's a real thing and people don't understand that.
And, going through it, there was a point I was in a leadership role in the house, 20 months into my stay. I had decided I was going to stay a third year even, but I still hadn't dealt with the demons in the closet, right? The skeletons.
Yeah.
And there was a day where I had to hold somebody accountable that I was in charge of. And he was a guy that I was dirty with. That's what we call it, getting dirty with somebody. And so he basically looked at me and said, who are you to tell me?
Yeah, screw you, man. What the hell?
Yeah. And he walked over and he told him, all about me. And I remember standing there because I'd been in trouble a couple of different times at the academy, and Dave, our director, he had definitely taken a liking to me and seen my potential, but he was also very aware of how dangerous I could be.
Yeah.
And so he had let me know, if anything like some of this trouble you've gotten in early on happens again, I'm going to ask you to leave. And so I had to stand there when this guy, the skeletons are coming out of the closet. I know that this is bigger than anything that I've been in trouble for before. And I remember standing there. I stood in the same spot for about 45 minutes, and I said, okay. The thoughts ran through my head: pack up your stuff right now, get out the back door, do whatever. And I said, no, I'm going to trust this. I'm going to trust this once and for all in my life. These are good people that are helping me do something different. I did this. I created this situation. Let's see what happens. And so went over, and it was a process of unpacking things for myself. And I was asked, Dave gave me the ultimatum. He said, look, you're 2 years into this, which means you're close to graduating. I had actually even beaten my probation, gone to court, gotten taken off probation. So at this point, I could probably walk away from here.
Yeah.
But I was now invested. I'd built new relationships. I had, and the thing that stood out to me, and that's taught to us, that kind of is impacted to us through this time, is look, you're not on drugs here. You're not scurrying to survive in life. You're not any of these things. You're in a safe environment. You guys still make the same choices. So it's you. It has nothing to do with drugs. It has nothing to do with alcohol. It has nothing to do with abusive relationships. It has nothing to do with any of those things. It's you. And so I had to really take that look at that. And Dave had expressed to me, he goes, if I let you slide on this, if I let you just go forward and move on with your life, because you'll be back in prison or you'll be dead in the next 6 months. He said, so you have a choice. You can leave here today and go do whatever it is you're going to do, or you can start over. And I had grown to trust Dave. I knew everything he said to me was the truth. I knew in this situation what he was saying was the truth, that I had wasted somewhat an opportunity, but I could salvage it. And so I took his opportunity and I started over at 2 years, which is a big deal. I mean, I had a lot of, presence in in the house at this point. I had management roles. I had, that's, as you're there, you grow and you responsibilities are laid on you and given you. And so I had to step back from all those, and I got to see how that affected other people's lives, right? I'd built all these new relationships, mostly with people that I just met through this process. And I got to see the pattern that I repeat the same cycles everywhere I go. And when Dave was expressing all this stuff to me, he's yelling at me, he's screaming, he's a pissed father at this point, right? He's mad.
You'd let him down.
Oh yeah. And Dave does that to make an impact, right? He doesn't mince words, and he says it very straightforward. But he let me know in this moment, he said, I've been doing this for 15 years and nobody's disappointed me the way that you have. And when he said that to me, the look in his eyes was the same look I'd seen in every person's eyes my whole life. And I said, this is the last time I'm ever going to see this, because it's me. I create this everywhere I go.
What would your option have been, or where would you be today if you'd walked out the back door, do you think?
I think just what Dave said. And I ran that through my head. I go, here I am. At this point, I'm now 38 years old. I'm going to go knock on my mom's door, my elderly mom, who stood by me through prison term after prison term, my family. And I'm going to have to make up some BS story about how these guys screwed me over. And
you were the victim again, right?
Yep. And I said, I'm not doing it, because I'd been in this environment now for long enough to know that that wasn't the truth. That wasn't the way out, that wasn't going to be it. And so I said, no, I'm going to stand on my own 2 feet. I'm not going to show up at my elderly mom's house knocking on the door, 40 years old, with another thing that I haven't completed.
Yeah.
And so I stuck it out, and I did that. I started over. I did the next 2 years the way I should have done the first 2 years.
So did they make you start all the way over where you had no contact? I mean, completely starting over. Okay.
So I had been seeing my family. I had all that stuff. Dave had to call my family and say,
And let him know.
Yep. And my mom, what my mom's response to him was? She said, I absolutely trust what you're doing. We'll see him in a year.
Wow.
And that's the impact. And that's for most families that come to the academy and they see the transformation. Even like I said, I wasn't given 100%, but the transformation was still taking place in me.
Yeah.
That start over, I was able to really put it into myself, man. And I changed my life. I changed who I was. I changed my behaviors down to where it actually becomes who you are. And that's the miracle of the academy, is it's long-term, right? it's 2 years minimum that we ask people to stay, but 40% of the guys will stay for a third or fourth year because they like who they're becoming. And if we can get them to make that decision, that's when we get into these just massive numbers of success, right? Like you stay 2 years, we're at about 65% of our guys remain crime-free, drug-free, and employed, meeting all three of those criteria for the next, we've been mapping it for 10 years now. But if they stay a fourth year, if we can get a guy or a gal to stay a fourth year, it's like a 98% success rate.
Wow.
Because you're not only learning how to redo things in your life, you can go to prison, you can go to rehab, you can go to other places, and you can learn some principles, you can get some tools, you can do some different things. But have either you guys ever been in any of those environments? Or
So, I mean, I have been through some of that, but I was on the other side of this, Jordan. I was the guy who never got caught for anything I did for years. And it was finally, I mean, my big turning point was when I had a cop take my kids out of my hands when I was bawling. And then that was what am I doing with my life? I just lost my kid and watched him walk away with an officer out of my house.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I hadn't had to go through some of the stuff you went through, but in a way, some of the stuff I had to go through was a little bit harder because it was now I didn't have anybody guiding me. I didn't have any help. I was left sitting there alone.
Yeah.
And I mean, my process for that next year was very, very lonely, making these decisions that you had guidance.
Yeah.
So, that's the fortunate part is I never had to deal with the legal side of it. But the unfortunate part is I think part of it was harder because I didn't have a support system that helped me.
Sure. But it worked for you too. It got you.
It did.
It scared you straight.
It did. It did.
And thank God, because you can go further down that path and lose far more than that. And that's, thank God that worked for you. You're smarter than most. You're smarter than most of us. We're stubborn guys for sure.
I think there was definitely much a higher power influence at that moment that really got me down that path.
That's awesome.
So,
well, so when you go into a lot of these rehabilitation programs where you go into jails and you go into prison, there's opportunities there. And like I said, tools that you can pick up, but there's also a lot of learning how to use those tools to manipulate. And you're right. And so you spend, not everybody, some people get the stuff that they need. Like you were able to turn it around because you said, wow, paradigm shift. I can't be doing this. This is crazy. Some guys can have that in jail and prison, but it's a very small amount.
It's a very small percentage.
It's usually a lot larger. So most programs, they boast where I'm saying we have a 65% or minimum, and
most programs are 20 to 30%, right?
Like 5 to 8%.
Wow.
Damn.
5 to 8.
Wow. Well, and I did hear a comment from somebody at one time as I learned how to be a better criminal by going to jail.
Yeah. And so that's not
maybe
to
still get caught.
Yeah.
And that's not to blame those places because again, it's on you.
Right.
Who you choose to gravitate towards. But at the academy, we've never had a single dirty drug test given to adult probation and parole.
Wow.
We've never had a single act of violence inside of our doors because we have cardinal rules. Any threats of violence or an act of violence,
you're out.
You're gone. Yeah. You have to have certain things in place, but we've never had that. How do you have that? You have guys in our program that have been convicted of murder, all the way down to guys that are little pothead kids who won't get off their parents' couch and everything in between. We have never once had another person put their hands on each other. But that's the way of things in prison, right?
Yeah.
So
that's the survival, right?
Yeah. Well, how do you get to that place? You have to have a culture established. And first off, you have to tell people you're not going to do that here.
Yeah.
They don't do that in prison. They react to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a reactive, not a proactive situation.
And so that's the cool part about being able to change and do those things. So I really got to rebuild my life and decide who I wanted to be. They weren't teaching me anything I hadn't been taught my whole life. Our whole life, we're taught these same principles of doing the right thing, owning your mistakes, holding other people accountable, caring about your community. All that we're taught that from a young age. It's part of who we are in America. It's
right.
And especially here, I think in Utah to an extent.
Especially, I don't know if the academy could have started anywhere else. We have a campus in Denver now.
Okay.
We're looking at possibly opening a campus in Boise. We've got places and we help consult all kinds of programs all over the country, trying to help them do some of the same things we're doing. But I don't know that the Otherside Academy could have started anywhere but Salt Lake because of the culture here, right? Like it's a
Right.
mix of different family values, hard work, different stuff, and
Accountability.
accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And so I graduated my second flip of things. So I ended up being a student for 4 years at the academy.
And so that would have been a total of 6 years at the academy.
No, I did 2.
Oh, 2 and then 2. Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
2. So did 4 years consecutive. I
Okay.
never left or did any of that. And then so towards the end of my last year, David, kind of tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "What would it take to get you to stay around here longer? I think you'd be a viable person to help other people, because what you've done, you're reaching some of your potential now. You're living at a level of integrity. What would be something that would keep you around here?"
How often does that happen?
It happens. That's all of our staff are homegrown.
Okay.
Everybody who works at the academy has gone through
it.
Yep, has gone through this process. That's part of the kind of the magic of the thing, right? We do have a couple of specific people that we've hired, like our development director and stuff like that had some outside skills, some obviously college degrees that help with those things.
Bring some of that educational piece into the atmosphere.
Yeah, experience, but 99% of our staff are homegrown, and they are people just like me, just like Dave, that are going through this process. And I said, well, I had been in charge of kind of our construction team, and construction team meaning that we took care of our properties. If the moving company did damages on somebody's house or something like that, we would go out and fix those things.
So kind of a property maintenance type thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so we had done a couple of expansions at the academy, and in one of those, there was a general contractor, in charge of it, and I was working sort of as a liaison between the academy and them. I was the guy making sure that deadlines were being met and different things like that. So these are the opportunities that we present to people at the academy. I'm still a student while I'm doing this, but I'm learning these things. And so it dawned on me real quick, like I'm doing most of the work for these contractors.
Why am I not doing this?
And so that became a goal for me. I had construction experience in my past, but again, you can't do 10 years in prison and be a master of anything. You spent most of your time in prison. But I had a mind where I could pick things up and I could put things together. It was, you show me something once, I can pretty much lock it in, right? And so I'm paying attention. And so that when Dave asked me, I said, well, it seems to me like, why don't we get our contractor's license? And then we can do all this stuff ourselves, save millions of dollars.
Well, and start a whole new division to expand and help other people learn skills.
Yeah. And then let's see if we're good at it. We can start selling to the public as well and bring in some revenue. And so that he said, okay, duly noted. And a few months went by and he tapped me on the shoulder again. He said, your goal of what you wanted to do, go get everything taken care of. We'll pay for it. And so,
did you suspect that was going to be the plan? Did you see that happening, or where was your mindset at that point?
You never know.
Mm-hmm.
You never know with the academy because, we'll try new things, put a bullet in things, and we'll do different things. But I felt like I had grown enough in myself to know that like who I was becoming, that I was being taken seriously in life now.
Yeah. You had the respect from others.
And that was so amazing. It wasn't fake anymore. I didn't have to lie to this guy and then be found out later. I didn't. And that was a huge piece, I think, for anybody that's trying to get into recovery, that's trying to do something different with their life. Man, if you can get to that point, that's what it's all about, is when, man, not only can you make commitments, but you can follow through and keep them and be somebody that, people can trust and count on you. Until you are that person, gosh, you have no idea. You didn't know what a good life was before.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I got the opportunity to launch the Otherside Builders. So that was about 7 years ago. I was still a student going through all those things and got to launch that. As soon as I graduated, I was hired on shortly thereafter as an employee, like the day of graduation. Okay. But we had already launched this construction side of the organization.
And I think that's drastically different than the previous graduation you described.
Yeah. Yes. And so, we started off doing little things like, as far as the public, we would take on the academy stuff because, hey, we can assume the liability, right? Like we're the contractor, it's like when a homeowner,
right?
Do their own thing. We can mess up a little bit. Luckily, we've never really had a mess up. Nothing substantial, everybody makes little mistakes, but we've never had any large things. And now we're today we're doing $2 to $3 million jobs.
Wow. And these are public jobs that you're getting awarded. I mean, either private homeowners or commercial jobs, anything like that.
Commercial and residential jobs.
Okay.
But we started off building little decks off the backs to people's houses, finishing their basements. You know, and then over the years I've got to build relationships with subcontractors that it takes some time to find the right guys because we want them to match our values, right?
Mhm.
We want them to
And skill sets.
yeah, we want them to be hardworking. We want them to show up on time. So there's definitely been some iterations of some guys we've had to let go and do different stuff like that. And so, as far as the subs and things, now today, I would say 90% of the guys that work on my crews. So we're a GC. We're managing the job sites. We are overseeing the subcontractors. My guys are learning construction management skills. They're learning. We do all the framing. We do all the finish carpentry. We do tile work. You know, all the finishes.
Wow.
Everything besides the specialty trades.
Okay.
You know, heating and air,
Electrician.
plumbing and electrician. Right?
Okay.
But 90% of my guys, when they graduate, will go work for one of our subcontractors. So now our subcontractors roll on our jobs, and it's all of our graduates.
Yeah. So it's
Right.
expanded. I mean,
That's awesome.
you've expanded this community, not just from what you guys have built, but now into your subcontractors, which is now expanding into a bigger construction community with all of these guys and gals that you have helped, one, get their life straight and show them the potential of themselves, but then also show them that they're capable of learning these skills and being able to put those to good use.
Yeah. And so it's been awesome. That's been my life for the last 7 years. My
Wow.
wife, I got married 2 years ago, 2 Halloweens ago. We got married on Halloween because we just thought that'd be great. But I met her.
Why not?
Yeah, it was awesome. Big costume party.
Yeah.
All of our 400 people there, all dressed in Halloween costumes. It was a great time. But she and I met at the academy. She was in charge of our corporate development team, which would be reaching out for in-kind donations. And so some of our projects, we would fund them off of, would Sutherland's be willing to donate all the lumber for this?
Mhm.
Right? And so she was in charge of that. I was in charge of making the project happen. So we got to become friends.
Did she graduate from the academy as well, or was she one of the ones that came through that didn't go through the program?
Nope, she graduated.
Okay.
And she became a staff member at the
Okay.
academy. And then when the Otherside Village, which is for the homeless population, that's the sister organization that we started 3 years ago, well, 4 years ago now, 5 years ago now.
I say it's been a while. I remember that story in the news, so it's been a minute.
She, because of her past, my wife had spent 18 years of her life homeless. She grew up crazy story. You guys should definitely talk to her. She jumped boxcars as a kid with her mom and
Oh wow.
Dang.
doing crazy stuff like that. So she got an opportunity to go work at the village, and so she is a part of their. She's their volunteer manager now, and coordinates between the community. Big corporations want to come put community service hours in to help contribute to the village and stuff. So she's in charge of coordinating all that now. But yeah, this is our life.
Yeah.
Being involved in this. Her son came to live with us. He was 13. He's 19 now. So shortly after we both graduated and we were dating and kind of, working out our own lives, figuring that out. Her parents said, "Hey, we're done raising him."
Yeah. Which, I mean, if she got that point in her life, that's great.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so she says, "Oof." And that's the thing that the guys don't understand. Everybody says, "I'm a father of the year. I love my kids. I do all this stuff." But when you've lived the life that we have, we've been absent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We haven't loved our kids. We haven't done
Yeah.
any of those
Well,
things.
and you didn't learn some of those skills to be the parent because you never had that parent in your time
Yep.
as well. So
And so those are the stresses, and this is what we're trying to teach the guys and gals is like, these are the things that are real life is harder than anything you've ever done.
Mhm.
It's the guys that are driving down the street, at 7:00 in the morning on their way to work for the 365th time this year that haven't missed a day of work, that all their money goes to their kids and their mortgage and they're taking care of their expenses. Those are the real warriors out there. You guys aren't badasses. Those are the badasses, right? And so my wife got presented, hey, her parents said, "You got to take him.
Wow.
We're done. We can't do it." And so at that point, luckily we are surrounded by a circle of guys at the academy. This is our lifestyle now. And we said, okay. So we moved in together and we brought her son in, and man, overnight I have to do this father role thing.
Yeah. Here you go.
And I was willing to do it, and I'm still, willing to do it today. But I'll tell you what, that wasn't in my game plan.
Yeah.
And man, trying to take care of a teenage boy that's kind of already established in his things, I love him to death, but it will teach you more about yourself and who you want to be than anything, right? And so that was a huge growth for me. That wasn't my plan. I was thinking I'm gonna get my life together and I'm gonna play and I'm gonna do all this stuff, but very quickly
It changed. Your priorities changed,
It
and
changed.
everything happens.
Life
Yeah.
happened. Yeah.
yeah, and I got to understand it. Man, I'd call my mom all the time and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand now what I put you through. I understand. And he's not anything like I was. I was a hellion. But I understood now.
Yeah. You get a little glimpse of it.
He stood by my side through all the years of just crazy.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my life today. Running a construction company, mentoring, guys. I'm on probably my 13th generation of dudes through my wing of stuff.
Awesome.
Stay in contact with my guys after they graduate. Some of them are my friends today. Some of them are, guys I just mentor and stay in contact with.
Some are coworkers.
Yep. Some coworkers and watching them succeed. Had some failures along the way too, right? And that's always a bitter pill to swallow as well. But
Yeah.
it's the name of the game.
Yeah.
And life is good. Got to meet you at the General Contractors Association with the Department of Corrections trying to help. I go out to the prison about once a month to help recruit guys to come out here. So here I am. I get to walk, guy who's been in that prison.
Right. You get to walk in there free.
Get to walk in there
and walk out whenever you damn well please.
and see guys that, here I am 10 years later doing something different, and they're still there, stuck, and you get to maybe latch onto them and pull them out of that environment as well, and say, hey, there's an option.
Yeah.
That's one of the most critical things is the validity of who we are, because we are them. And,
Right.
and
100%.
yeah, and we can show them the path out.
So on this journey, I mean, now you're so on this other side where you are going back to the prison. You're recruiting guys out of prison to come into the program. Along this whole journey, there's got to have been a once or even two pieces of advice that somebody's given you that just has stuck with you, that now possibly you're passing on to some of the other guys. What are those pieces of advice that have stuck with you?
The biggest thing that so at one point in our stay, you make some commitments, and they have to do with you. We don't get to talk about our past at the academy.
Okay.
There's a certain point about 18 months in where you basically get to unravel your past in a group setting with your peers, right? And with staff. But the whole time you're there, you're asked not to talk about it.
Okay.
Because we want to break that cycle, because we all tell the same stories over and over again. We're the victim or the hero, and usually we're neither one of those things. But we've regurgitated the same stuff. So we stop that. We teach people how to talk about what's going on right here, right now.
Living in the present.
Yeah. So in that retreat part, though, in that 18-month, say you make some commitments. Those commitments I made have been two of the strongest things that I still live with today. And the first one was quit calculating the next right move and just do the next right thing. And that was me. I was a calculator. I got to figure you out. And if I say the right stuff to you, then I can get this out of you. I can do whatever.
Yeah.
String you along for so long. But eventually, my inability to maintain my image and because I have nothing behind me, I have no substance, it's going to unravel, right? And so I learned to just do the next right thing. Each moment of each day, what is the right thing to do in this moment? Is it going to hurt right now? But is it the right thing? I got to do it. And I built a successful life for myself, where all that energy we talked about, maintaining lies, maintaining all that stuff, I have that energy to use on creativity and helping other people and making the world a better place.
And living life to your fullest. Now you get to enjoy the things that you would always see afar, right?
The other commitment that I made was to surround myself with people that will hold me accountable, because that was never me. Ex-girlfriends in my past, number one attraction for me was you let me do what I want to do and you stay out of my business, right? That's who I found. And that's who I connected with over and over again. And I used and abused them in ways that were not a relationship, was not love, was not whatever, right? They were just objects to me.
Mm-hmm.
My wife today,
Oh, she holds you accountable.
She is in my butt like and you know what? That was never me. That would have just driven me right out the door. But today I see the value in it, and she keeps me safe. And everybody in my life keeps me safe. Not that I'm walking around making dumb decisions anymore.
Right.
I've gotten to the point where I stop and I say, how could this look to people?
Mm-hmm.
I might not be doing anything wrong right now, but wait a minute. How could this even look?
Yeah. How is this
Self-regulation?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And why even tiptoe around this thing? Why even, and so grateful for that. So I think those two things, surrounding myself with people that actually hold me accountable, because you are who you spend your time with.
Yeah.
You're going to rise, water rises to its own level, and you're going to rise to wherever you're at. So if the people around you, if my friends are always talking bad about other people behind their back, they're always making excuses, or I see that they're manipulative, I know for a fact that that's either what I'm going to have to do to continue to maintain a relationship with these people, or, right? That's the influence. So picking who you spend your time with. And at the academy, we teach people to purge their old life. Even if, like my own family, good family, when I first graduated and I started reacclimating back into them, there was some growth stuff there that I had to go through because I was living at a higher level than they even were.
Mm.
And not to say I'm better than them, not anything like that. Right?
Yeah.
But I started to see the patterns of, oh, that's why I would continue to do those things.
Yeah.
Because they
would either allow it or they would just shrug it off, or yeah.
Mom has a tendency to love me so much she'll let me get away with stuff.
Right.
One of the first things, and this is was a cycle always with her. Well, let's do something for you to celebrate the fact that you made it through this. And I, at the academy, had learned the principle: no, you're never going to do another thing for me again. As a matter of fact, Mom, you're 70 years old.
I need to start helping you.
Yeah, what can I do for you?
Mm.
And so my mom never. I pay for everything. Well, she does. We do split. We'll go out to dinner and we'll say, yo, you paid last time, I'll pay this time.
Yeah.
But I'm at my mom's every Monday night taking her garbage out. I'm there, and I'm the guy today that if I say I'm going to do something, I follow through and I get it done.
Oh.
It wasn't me before. I would say I would do everything, never do a single bit of it. But those are the things I think. You are who you spend your time with.
Mm.
So look around you.
Mm-hmm.
If who you spend your time with, that's who you are.
All right.
And quit calculating the next right move.
Yeah.
Just do the next right thing.
Well, that's interesting. Before Jordan showed up, we were having our conversation outside. We were talking about certain people spending time with, and how I think they're bad influences, and that just kind of full circle from that conversation we had before. So it is interesting because when you do, and I will say this, so my wife has recently just quit her full-time job so she can focus on this full-time and expanding this. And she worked for a treatment center, and everybody has good intentions and everything, but ultimately there's a few people there that just were not great influences. They are enablers, or it was all about them, that she was working with on a daily basis. And I've seen the change in her just not being around those people. Not that the situation was bad, because they're all trying to do good things. But now that she's not surrounded by those people, and she's surrounded by different people who are trying to make a difference every day, like we are, what our mission is, I've seen that change. And so it's a true statement.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
You got to take control. You got to pay attention to those things. You got to know when you're slipping. Like if your wife notices, hey, man, my attitude's slipping this way, it's not those people's fault.
No,
it's and she can try to correct those people. That's always what you should. If you got some bad influence, you should stand for something and say, hey, I don't like how this is.
Yeah.
If that doesn't have an effect and it doesn't change it, then that means you got to change some stuff.
Or remove yourself from the situation if possible.
Exactly. Yep. And so that's the part that 200% accountability. I see you got our Chiefs in front of you. That is one of the coolest. I mean, I think that is what the whole world needs right now. And I think we're maybe having a little bit of a renaissance where we're shifting back to some more values of personal accountability as well as group accountability.
Yeah.
Where we've, for a few years now, we've really tried to sidestep the personal accountability, and everybody's the criminal's a victim and the society's the abuser, the offender now.
Right.
And it's an ugly state of affairs, because if there's no consequences for your actions, there's no motivation to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to we went to Kensington, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you guys have ever been there.
I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's a portion of Philadelphia, one of these horrible slums, right, where they've just
It's just been ran into the ground. I mean, it's a scary place to be.
police presence there, but they just sit there and watch it all happen.
Yeah.
Because they can't do anything. They say, hey, let's hand out clean needles. Let's make this acceptable. Let's not prosecute them for anything. And this place is a living hell.
Isn't, maybe I'm off topic here, but isn't the Kensington, Pennsylvania, where the Mayors of Kingstown show was based? I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I want to say that was kind of the town that show was based off of.
Very possibly could be. And I mean, this place you've got people that are laying on the side of the road, and you see it here. You see little pockets of it here where, but there it was.
It's everywhere. It's the whole town.
It's the whole town. And you have people laying there, their skin's rotting on the side of the road. They're dead laying on the side of the road. Nobody's doing anything. People are just openly using drugs. They're openly committing crimes. They're robbing each other. And they call it compassion to say, hey, let's not prosecute them. Let's not punitively do something about this. And as a parent, anybody knows that if there's natural consequences to your actions, right? You use drugs, you sleep around, you do different things, you get diseases, you get sick, you die. Those are the natural consequences.
Right.
Other natural consequences are your relationships falter. You can't be trusted, those things. And there's the unnatural consequences we create, to try to steer people back into the right place. When you get to these level of things, it's prison, it's jail. Prison saved my life. I'm 45 years old today. Most of the guys that I ran around with running and gunning for a lot of years that didn't make it to prison are dead, or they're mentally ill. They have no teeth left. Their bodies are completely destroyed. Prison saved my life over and over and over again because I was removed from an environment where I was destroying myself and I was hurting other people, and put into an environment where at least I could have another shot if I chose to take it.
Yeah.
And it took a couple tries.
Yeah, it took a few tries. And luckily I was able to survive the roll of the dice that I kept putting myself through. But to legalize everything, to make no consequences, and to provide a safe space for people to just openly destroy themselves, these guys are never coming back from this. Even if you were to stop it today, put them into some kind of treatment, or some of those guys in some of these situations, and you see them slumped over on the side of the road, staring at the ground, their body bent in half. They are never coming back from it.
Yeah.
And that's not compassion.
So, I mean, what was the purpose of the trip going back there then? Was it kind of the other side academy, or was it kind
scenario?
of...
No, we were going to Pennsylvania to go check out another program.
Okay.
Go kind of give them some consultation stuff and things. But we knew of this. They said, you guys got to come see Kensington, because you have to see it firsthand.
Yeah.
You have to walk. And we did. We walked down the street and we did and it was, I was scared. I was scared walking down that street.
Wow.
And it was, but that was a living hell to see that, and some of the guys that were in the program that we were out there visiting had been in that place before they went there. And so
I'm sure part of that was this could have been any of us.
Oh yeah.
Based on the decisions we made.
And we're really trying to make an impact, because our success, the Academy's success, is based off the fact that we tell people the truth.
Yeah.
We don't care if it offends you. We don't, because when you were sticking a gun in someone's face, I bet you weren't worried about if you were offending them.
Right.
Well, you were, and we understand that you probably had some childhood trauma and those different things, but everybody has childhood trauma. Everybody. You do, I do, everybody does. What you chose to do with it is yours.
Right.
And so we tell people the truth, things like that. And those aren't necessarily popular views in the world today,
Yeah, I mean, more and more, it's kind of the coddling, right? Everybody gets a participation trophy, not the truth of, if you do the hard work, you get the success.
Yeah. And there's got to be support too. It can't just all be, hey, you're a bad person.
Right.
But you've got to own, you can't change your behavior until you own that behavior. You see it for what it is, and that's the personal transformation I went through. Is I saw, like I said earlier, it's me that goes everywhere, and I repeat the same thing over and over again. Whole new group of people, whole new group of circumstances. I found a way to repeat the same exact choice.
Yeah.
I lie, I manipulate. I'm not on drugs, so I can't blame it on the drug. You add drugs to it, You're just pouring gas on the fire,
Right.
is what it is. But I'm a liar and a manipulator first before I'm a drug addict.
Yeah. And then once you really realized that in the program, that was kind of a big turning point for you. That was what made that paradigm shift.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Start working on it at that point.
Yeah.
I could say I'm the problem here.
Yeah.
And start self-monitoring myself and then listening to people, because we're very feedback based, right? You're going to tell me throughout the day where I'm falling short. I'm going to tell you. I'm also going to tell you where you're succeeding.
Right.
But I'm going to go out of my way to tell you where you're falling short, because that's what we've agreed to do here is point out each other's flaws so that then you can actually work on them. And then I'm going to learn to be receptive to that. Talk about customer service 101.
Absolutely.
I'm able to get so many jobs with so many customers out there because they've been burnt by so many contractors who just don't communicate, who make commitments and don't follow
through.
Man, if you just show up to work, have a good attitude. What was that commitment I said?
Yeah.
Quit calculating the next right move.
Yeah.
Just do the next right thing.
I like it.
Be successful out there.
Do you find, and everybody has a past, and construction company XYZ is going to have guys on their crew that have checkered past.
Mm-hmm.
Your team now is going in with your potential customer, whomever's receiving this bid, knowing that. Has that been a pro or a con, and how does that work in your business strategy?
So I think when the academy first started, you had the people that wanted to help. They said, "Hey, let's hire these guys. Let's give them a shot. This will be." And I think it was kind of, it'll be cute. We'll get
pat myself on the back.
Yeah, we'll get the drug addicts out. And then they got our customer service.
Yeah.
And they saw how we hold ourselves and what we do. The comment I made to you guys about the concrete guy this morning. I had to build relationships with all the Salt Lake City inspectors. When we first started doing this, they were in my butt.
I bet.
Testing me.
As they should be.
Today, my relationship with all of the Salt Lake City inspectors, building inspectors, are what I would call, as professionally as you can, a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell me when they come out, it was funny, we were working side by side with another general contractor on kind of a mutual job. And one of the inspectors came out and he said, "Man, when I came out here today, I was pissed because I told these guys yesterday that they need to do A, B, and C, and there's no way they got that done today. And so why am I coming back out here?" And then he said, "I saw your name on the inspection thing." And I was like, all right, everything's good. Well, that took a long time to build that. And that comes from those principles. So most of our customers, we don't advertise. We have a website where people can go on and ask for, but we don't really advertise.
It's word of mouth. It's because you guys are doing what you say you're doing.
Yeah, it's word of mouth. So we'll pull on to a job, and within, people will see what we do. They'll hear about us from other people. I would say 40% of our customers are repeat customers. And then another probably 40% are neighbors down the block.
Yeah.
Just referrals.
Saw what we did, how we kept a clean job site, how we were busting her. My guys don't have cell phones. We don't smoke cigarettes. We don't take smoke breaks. So an 8-hour day.
It's an 8-hour day.
Mm-hmm. Productivity is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's cool that you guys, you guys have other reasons for setting that up for sure for the beginning, but that is becoming more popular, and maybe it is, and it's here, and I've seen it, and maybe it is your guys' influence in the industry that has driven that, because I am now seeing other companies when I'm out on my day-to-day job where guys are made to leave their cell phones in their cars. They need to be productive. They need to be safe. It's a safety issue to have a cell phone and be interrupted in that type of environment. So, you guys start it with a different purpose because of the contact and different things, but it leads into just being a better work environment overall because of that.
Yeah. I kind of a plug, and I'm sure he wouldn't care that I'm putting it out there, but former Governor Mike Lovett hired us.
Okay.
And I think it was one of those situations, was like, hey, I want to do some kind of...
I want to do some good.
Yeah, he wanted us to put a golf simulator in his basement, so we had to move some walls around and do some different things. And by the time we were done, he wrote letters for all of my guys on the crew to express to them, with the old letterhead of the governor. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mike Levitt at all, but this is my first contact with him since I was a little kid and he was actually governor. So in a business sense, he's not going to take excuses. He's a no BS.
He's successful for a reason.
He's a no BS kind of guy.
Yeah.
And so for him to say to my guys, to me, to write us letters and let us know, in the word of mouth he's given us, to say, you are one of the best contractors I have ever worked with. And I've worked with
A lot.
a lot of
Mhm.
contractors. That feels good. And for my guys to be able to understand that, and then for me to be able to reinforce, look, these are the skills that'll save you. If you know how to, frame a house, or you know how to lay tile, or those things really don't matter. Anybody can learn how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
You can become good at those things. But if you can become a good businessman, a solid guy with integrity,
Yeah. Respected, trusted.
you can go anywhere. That's worth everything.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume, the governor or someone in authority for most guys has always been perceived as the enemy. Like, that guy's never going to give a rip about what I'm doing. I'm here because of the laws that they created, blah, 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 whatever excuse they wanted to give. And then the flip side to say, hey, I have a note personally from former Governor Levitt who says I'm a hell of a good contractor and should be taken in a respectful way and should be, praised for my skills.
He even invited us back to do another job for him, and I said, unfortunately, the time frame that he needed it done,
You couldn't do.
I'm going to be able to do that, and he was like, that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, but he respected it because you were honest with him and said, you know what, we can't complete it in your time frame. And so, again, you earn more respect by being upfront with him, not committing to it and not being able to commit, to finish it. So, well, as we're kind of wrapping up, one thing I wanted to ask you is our demographic. We have, like we discussed, we have a lot of guys in our age group, a lot of guys in the industry. What pieces of advice, on top of the amazing stuff you've already said, could you give them? They're already in the industry, they're doing it, and maybe they don't have that checkered past, but maybe they're struggling on the day-to-day of making to that next level or being that person at home that they want to be. What kind of advice could you give them that you've learned over the last little while?
Especially in the construction world, I think becoming a comparison junkie is a killer.
Yeah.
When you come in and you look at, maybe the boss's son works there, right? And he gets a little bit better thing than you do. Or, this guy's been working here. I feel like I work harder than him, but he's getting paid more than me. Whatever that is, those comparison things that we do. Only ever compare yourself to yourself. Are you doing better today than
you were yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say don't advocate for yourself. Don't rise up and say, hey, I feel like I work harder than Joe over here. You think I could be compensated for that? But it's never a good practice to be comparison junkie to everybody else around.
Yeah.
Because usually if you function off comparison with anyone other than yourself, you're going to come up with the short end of the straw. You're going to find reasons why you're being shortchanged, why you're whatever, and it never works out in your own mind, because if you're honest with yourself and you really compare yourself, how much better do you get it than some people too? But we never land on that spot sometimes, right? That gratitude piece, or that, wow, I'm lucky that I got this going on. It's always, how come he's got that and I don't?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's rampant in the construction field, and where you can get in kind of a funk and
Right.
a bad spot. And so I'd say work hard, compare yourself to yourself. Did you do better today than you did yesterday? Or did you do worse than you did? And make those adjustments and tweak those things. Same thing with your relationships at home, with your wife, with your kids, with any of those things. Am I doing better today than I did yesterday? If the answer is yes, keep doing that. If the answer is no, make those adjustments immediately. I think that, back to the circle of influence, surround yourself with eagles,
Yeah.
soar with the eagles. Don't peck around with the turkeys.
There you go.
I
like that.
And the honesty piece, admit when you fall short. Everybody loves to be able to trust somebody. Don't cover things up. Don't try to soften them or mitigate them. Just see what it takes when you come forward and say, hey, you know what? I just lied to you. That's not true what I just said. Or, hey, I might have been a little bit misleading. Or, you know what? I'm missing this deadline today because I didn't get my work done, and I totally forgot. And I'll double up the efforts tomorrow. I got it. I'll get it taken care of.
Own it. Both sides of the consequences, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Really like that.
I'm curious, you've talked about it a little bit. Yes, I did download your core beliefs, but are there, 2 or 3 that you still live by or you feel are as important and kind of apply to everyone that you'd want to share?
Yeah, certainly the 200% accountability, right? Is a huge piece. And I wanted to talk on that a little bit more too. So 200% accountability basically says I'm accountable for my actions 100%, but I'm also accountable for your guys' actions 100%.
Okay.
So in a sense, if we're here, right, like me coming to this podcast this morning, right? If you guys weren't prepared when I got here and I'm not willing to speak up and say something about it to you or say, hey man, you guys told me this time.
I'm here.
That's an example.
Mhm.
You guys were on time. I was early. So I actually, it was good. Everything went smooth. But the idea is 200% accountability. Say we're friends, right? And we're hanging out. And I notice you keep glancing at some other lady. And I know you're married. And I know what your wife and your family and all your stuff. And I'm not willing to say to you, hey, come on, man. You know what I mean? What would Hillary be thinking about this, right?
Yeah.
Then I'm just as guilty of that act as you are. So that's a principle that we teach guys.
I really like that. I mean, and I've never heard it put quite like that, of the 200%. But I really like how you guys have put that together. That's awesome.
Because you're my buddy, right?
Right.
So I'm expecting you to keep me healthy.
Yeah.
And if I'm not keeping you healthy,
how are you going to keep yourself healthy or keep me accountable?
I'm killing the thing that's going to save me.
Yeah.
Because that's how life works, right? And so that's a huge one. The boundaries piece, learning how to hold concise boundaries, not put walls up, but to tell people, hey, this is the line that I have in my life, and to demonstrate that, to be what you say you are, to speak it, and people know that, right? Like when you walk into a room, if I walk into a room, you're not gonna screw around with me. Now I used to be able to be the guy that I could walk in a room and I knew who would and I still can today. I know who's the loose guy, who's the guy that's not going to take no BS from anybody, all those.
Or who can be manipulated.
Yep. And so that piece of establishing those boundaries and holding them in your life, even when, gosh, what I want most, I could trade off for what I want right now. You know what I mean? And standing by that for what I want most.
Yeah.
Having those clear, concise boundaries. The forgiveness piece is a huge part too. And I think sometimes that's the one that gets overlooked is 200% accountability doesn't work if I also don't have forgiveness.
Yeah. I mean, forgiveness for yourself and forgiveness for others.
Yeah. So if, take it back to the situation of me saying to you, hey, how would Hillary feel about that? Right. And if I just continue to just kind of grind you on that all the time and I don't give you the opportunity to change that behavior, then all I'm doing is beating you up about it, or maybe tearing you down to make myself feel better about who I am, or those types of things, right? So the forgiveness piece, the accountability piece has to be there, but then there also has to be the opportunity for you to do something. I have to give you that chance to show me that you're willing to do something different.
Yeah. I like that.
Absolutely. And just as they did with you in your 2-year sort of reboot, it could have been drastically different for you too.
It could have, and there had to be the boundaries there, right?
Yeah.
All those things that I just said were all present in that thing, right? The boundaries were, there has to be a consequence for what you've done. And
absolutely.
Here's what it is. You can start over, you can leave.
Yeah.
You make the choice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the amazing thing is you had the opportunity to make that choice. Sometimes we don't get the chance to make the choice. Mm-hmm. They gave you the chance to say, all right, here it is. Do you want to take this and run with it? Or is it time to move on?
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, and being aware of all the times in life that I have been given those chances too, because it wasn't my first chance.
Yeah.
Life, right?
Yeah. You'd had multiple at that point.
All of us have.
Yeah.
If we really stop and we look back and we go, man, if I would have just done this at that moment, but I chose this selfish way instead, where would my life be today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being able to be self-aware of those things and look at all the opportunities that we do have over and over again, and how many times do we keep making the same mistake?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been absolutely amazing. And I knew the moment I met you and heard your story, how impactful it could have been. And I know that people are listening today and have taken something or everything that you've said, and they're going to start either applying it or talking about it with others. So as we always end these episodes, we do something a little bit different and kind of give you the microphone now in a sense, and ask you if you have any questions for either of us while we're sitting here as we kind of wrap up. Maybe there's something that come up that you thought of that you'd like to know, or just information. So I'll give you a few minutes, Jordan. It's kind of your time to ask a couple of questions on your side.
Sure. I mean, what got you guys doing this? What got you and your wife started on wanting to do something different?
Well, our biggest thing was, like I mentioned, in March of 24, I had my suicide attempt. There was a lot of things that led up to that, relapse and different things that led up to that. But ultimately, after that, after I started through my treatment, we had realized what an epidemic was going on in our industry with substance abuse and suicide, that we just were blind to because we were in it. And we wanted to find a way to give back. We wanted to find, and the only thing that we could come up with at that moment is, well, let's share our story, because stories are powerful when you share it. And the way we figured we could do that is, let's start a podcast. We had some friends that have a podcast locally. We got some information from them how to kind of start it. And we're like, let's see if this works. And it has worked. Like, it has blown up more than we ever could have hoped for, which is fantastic, and led, to being able to do bigger and better things as well by the people that we've met doing it.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of got everything started for us.
What, you and I met with that corrections / AGC thing.
Mm-hmm.
Have you made any shifts in that since that meeting with wanting to help give guys a chance? Because I think some of the things we talked about in there were pretty impactful. One of the questions that I think, it might have been even you that asked me, what do you think about the risk you take when you hire these guys?
Yeah, no, actually, I think that was Russ from Rocky Mountain Steel, the older gentleman that was there. A lot of things have happened because of that. I have been more open myself to giving more opportunities to people, and giving them grace in a sense as well, because that's something that wasn't ever really given to me. And so that meeting particularly opened my eyes of, let's give a little more grace to everybody, and let's see, because everybody is genuinely a good person. We're all born good people. It's behaviors that are learned along the way. The other thing is I learned from that is there's a lot of employers that really genuinely want to help, and they want to help these people coming out of prison, these people giving second and third chances, but a lot of them don't know how to educate their other employees on how to manage them or how to interact with them, because everybody looks at them differently when you're trying to integrate these two. You guys have a different scenario because everybody has come from that, but some of these other people are trying to integrate two different cultures. And so giving them training, and that's where some of the stuff that we're doing with our nonprofit is helping, where we're giving education to them of just that knowledge of how to integrate, how to look for different things, how to be supportive of each other. And I think that's the biggest things I've got from that AGC thing. And other opportunities have opened up as well.
Yeah.
Concetta, who works for the Utah Women's and Trades, she was there. We had her on the show a few weeks ago. But lo and behold, she is one of the union contacts for all of the unions here in the state, and she's putting us in contact with the unions to start down that process to see how we can better help them as well. So
yeah, she came to the academy afterwards.
Okay.
A little tour and stuff.
Yeah, she's fantastic what she's doing.
Well, and it's so awesome to have those opportunities like that, to be able to meet and be a part of a solution and get to know more people, and because we all are trying to help people have a better life.
Right.
And some methods may be different than others, and not getting caught up in the way of, well, our way is the only way. The academy, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. That's for sure, but it is effective to help people. And I would like to say, if there's anybody that's listening to this, you got a family member, yourself, whatever, and you're at a place where you feel like maybe the Otherside Academy would be a help for you or for them. Typically it's for people that are totally broken, and this might be the last chance they have to do something different with themselves. It's going to be one of the hardest things they ever had to do, but it works.
Yeah.
I'd like to put it out there. You can come walk in our door. We're at 661 East, 100 South in Salt Lake City. You can take a seat on our bench and request an interview. Or if you're in jail or prison, you can write us a letter and we'll come out and interview you at the prison.
I love the idea of sitting on the bench. When I read about that, is show up. I think, most people may not even take that step, but show up and someone will at least listen is an incredible concept of someone trying to get help.
And we put the bench right by the front door. And as a little bit of to see how serious people are. Sometimes we'll leave them sitting there for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And they're told when they come in, hey, sit down here. We'll get to you in just a minute, and don't talk to anybody. You're not, if one of our staff wants to talk to you, you can talk, but just sit here. Bring them food, bring them water, let them use the bathroom. But we kind of will test them sometimes to see.
Yeah. Put them in that waiting game for a minute.
Yeah. Can you sit your butt there for 2 hours before you'll tap out on yourself? Or are you ready to?
You're ready to make this change.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, and somebody has come to mind that has struggled for a long time, and he still is kind of in that mode, and he's come to mind as we've been talking. And so I'm really thinking I'm going to reach out to him and say, are you ready for something? Because one, he is skilled with construction because that's been his whole past. So, I mean, he could come right into some type of position that you guys have. But I think the structure that you guys are offering is what he's been lacking in his life. And so maybe out of this whole thing, that could be something that comes out of this, which would be amazing. Other than that, I think one thing I wanted to ask is if somebody wants to get involved, somebody wants to help out, you say you have volunteer programs. How do they, get in touch with you guys? Is through the website, show up? How does the volunteer program work?
Yeah, so we have a chat board on our website. It's probably one of the easiest ways to reach out,
Okay.
And that'll go to one of our staff members.
What is that website?
TheOthersideAcademy.com.
Okay.
And so you can go on there. Any requests, any questions you have, anything along those lines, you can enter them into that, and it'll go out to one of our staff to then be answered to you, and then help process you, get you where you need to go to the right person to connect that way. You can also call our phone number. It's 801-953-0409. That'll get you to the front desk, and they can get you to pretty much anywhere you want to go. Our methods and what we do are open to the public. We tour all the time, and we'd love to have people come down and see what the Academy is, what we're about. So feel free to reach out to us. You can connect with our development director, our staff on site, our executive director, Dave DeRocher. We're changing things and doing things, and we're an open book. Just like, being able to come in and talk to you about my life. There's nothing that we do at the Academy that's
secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I think that's part of the beauty of it, and part of the success of it as well is everybody is involved in the entire thing. There's nothing hidden from anybody.
Yeah. And there's a lot of tall tales about how we do stuff and different things, stories that get spun off because you have people that either didn't make it through the program or maybe competing therapeutic places that are see our model as being maybe a threat to them.
Yeah.
We're totally willing to open our doors, answer any questions, and let anybody come and see what we do.
That's awesome.
We have Fortune 500 companies. We have police departments. We have all kinds of people that come in and we do consultations with them and training. Think about that. So one of the craziest stories, one of our staff members, Leticia, she'd been arrested by South Salt Lake Police Department multiple times. They came in to learn about accountability from us, our organization. Guess who was teaching?
She taught the class.
She was teaching the officers that used to arrest her.
Wow.
Accountability.
Yeah.
Talk about coming full circle.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, really, Jordan, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day. I mean, I know you're busy and you've got crews working, but you took some time to whittle out to hang out with us and share this powerful message of your story and the Otherside Academy and the amazing things you guys are doing here in the community. So really, thank you.
Thanks for what you do and for making that opportunity possible for not only myself, but other people. Because this is how problems get solved, is people come together, they talk about what they're doing and what the solutions are.
Yeah, building a community together. And, that's this whole model behind what we're trying to do is navigating life challenges together. And you can't do it alone. You do it together and you're going to be a lot more successful. So, well, everybody, Cameron, thank you for hanging out with me today.
Appreciate it.
And everybody, again, we couldn't do this every week without you. And I always challenge everybody at the end of these episodes that you've listened to this message today. You've heard the things Jordan has said. Somebody in your life, like the person I'm thinking of personally, could definitely benefit from some of this information. So think about that for a minute. Take this episode and share it. That is the way this community continues to grow. That is the way we can continue to do this every week, is by you guys showing up every week, but you guys also sharing it with the people that you love. So there's a friend, there's a family member, there's a coworker, or there might just be a new acquaintance that you met that you feel could need this message today. So share this episode with them. Let them hear the powerful story of Jordan and what he's overcome, and see if it will help them in their lives. And then guess what, everybody? We'll be back next week. We're so excited again for what's coming up next week for you guys. But until then, keep your head up, keep a smile on that face, and everybody, don't forget that you're a big deal. Thank you.